Welcome to Mikes and Mayhem with Jenna, Wren, and Maddie Morrow.
I'm Jenna, the human form of the 100 emoji.
And I'm Maddie, a sleep-deprived gremlin.
Hey, that's me too, though. Aren't we all?
Yep,
So sad.
it happens.
Such is a capitalist society, everybody.
Constantly sleep-deprived.
Yes, we have mics, and as always, we are here to bring you mayhem.
Yes, and this time we will be discussing the Doctor Who episode called Dot and Bubble, and it was a really heavy episode, but it was great.
It was what the kids nowadays call a doozy.
Is that what kids say
No,
these
it's
days?
not. It's no. So, if you haven't seen Dot and Bubble, obviously we're going to be discussing the whole episode and spoilers, so please save our video, go watch the episode and come on back. Yeah?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, for sure. So, let's jump right in. First thoughts.
Oh, to be honest, I don't know where to start on this one because I was going through okay, so like knowing what I know now after the episode is over and everything, I'm thinking back to how I watched it, and I watched it in a few different ways through like a few different lenses. So when it started initially, before even the Doctor Who like title, I was like, oh, this is gonna be, it's kind of reminding me of like a Black Mirror futuristic society, and it's gonna be like a commentary on how we're all stuck in our bubble and we're on our phones and can't pick our heads up out of our phones. We can't even walk correctly because we're always like on the internet. So that's like what I thought it was gonna be. I thought, oh, it's a referendum on technology.
Mhm.
But as the episode progressed, I realized quite quickly that it was not about technology. It was very much about classism and racism, mostly racism. And it was really heavy and very emotionally taxing, even as a white girl watching it who is privileged to live, with like the life I live. Watching it was very hard.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I thought the same thing, and I'm wondering if that's what most people thought too, was it was gonna be a take on how we always have our heads in our phones, and all we're doing all day is, our friends are on our phones. Like, that's where we talk to people, that's what we're doing, like, that's all that matters to us, blah, 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 that sort of a thing, and now, like, they're gonna, I guess we'll just jump right into the plot, like, now people are getting eaten because they're on their phone and not paying attention kind of a thing, right? But you're absolutely right. Like, it really became apparent really fast that that was not the point of the episode. While that, did play a role in this episode for sure. Like, I'm sure, we could argue that there was some commentary on the fact that we do have our heads stuck in our own little bubble, right? But it became evident really fast, especially, you know, when the doctor shows up. And there was a huge difference in the way that the person the episode was centered on treated the doctor versus Ruby.
Right. And I do think to an extent that is a commentary on being in one's bubble, being in an echo chamber. You see that, I think Lindy, right? That was her name, Lindy.
Mhm.
You see the people that Lindy is talking to online in her bubble. They are all same exact age as her. They're in probably their mid to early 20s, and they're all white. So that very much is an echo chamber. She's talking to people who look like her, behave like her, are in the same socioeconomic state as her. So to an extent, like, that is part of it, where she is only hearing and experiencing what she wants to. So when all of a sudden the doctor comes in, you realize, oh, this toxic, again, echo chamber is very bad. It's not at all good. And, like, the first thing you see her do is, like, the doctor pops up on her screen, and the first thing she does is swipe him away, like, immediately blocks and swipes him away. And I didn't think much of it at first, like, to be honest, I was like, "Oh, he's just an unknown guy," like, I would do the same thing if somebody I didn't know was trying to send me a message, and I'm like, No, 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 you can't come in here." But then it quickly became apparent why she did that.
Yeah, same. Like, she has all of her friends like in that little row, right, where she's talking to them and she's trying to see like who's awake and who's, what's going on. She even has her doctor in there that tells her when she needs to use the restroom, which I thought was wild.
I think it
Like,
was, like, Dr. P too, wasn't it,
yeah,
like, Dr.
yeah,
P?
it was Dr. P. Like, your need to urinate has just increased drastically. Like, okay, but anyway, so I was right there with you too. Like, she swiped the doctor away because he just jumps in and just starts rambling like, "You're in deep trouble. I'm here to save you. Like, all these things, bad things are happening. Like, let me help you." And then she swiped him away. So I thought the same thing. I was like, "Well, yeah, if some strange guy like hopped into my DMs and was like, 'Hey, the world is coming to an end. I'm here to save you.'" Yeah, I'd be a little like skeptical, right? Like, rightfully so. But then Ruby pops in and says the same things to her, and she starts to listen to Ruby. And so that's really when you start going, huh, why is she listening to Ruby but not the doctor? Because usually in a bunch of other episodes, it's the doctor that gets the person's attention, and then the companion is just kind of like, "Yeah, listen to him, listen to him." And they're like, "Oh, okay, great." But here, like, Ruby basically had to parrot what the doctor was saying instead of just like backing him up. And it was quickly like, "Oh, yeah, that's because he's not white."
Yeah, and even though, Lindy was skeptical of Ruby as well, she was willing to listen, and Ruby kind of coddled her, and she wanted that sort of, I guess, that reassurance from her, even though Lindy was a little hesitant, but she completely got on board right away, got on board with what Ruby was saying right away, listened to Ruby, did exactly what Ruby said. And then, like, she would make comments about the doctor, like, "Oh, he's so stupid. What is this stupid guy talking about?" Or, "Oh, he's not as dumb as he looks." And I was like, why would she talk like that about him? And he's done nothing but help her. And it quickly became apparent that these were all acts of, like, microaggression towards the doctor because he was a black man.
Yeah, and, talking to, our friend Monica kind of made me realize this too. Doctor Who, well, she didn't make me realize this. It was more of like a, "Oh yeah, that's right," kind of a thing. Like, Doctor Who always has very diverse casting. Like, that's not a secret. Like, there's always a very diverse cast of characters and of people, but not in this episode. And might not really notice it at first, but once they say, like, she's like, "Yeah, we're just a bunch of like, rich kids from between the ages of, 17 and 25," right? Was what she said, like, the age range was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, we're just, we're the wealthy kids between the ages of 17 and 25. And I was like, "Oh, okay. So you're rich, living in this perfect little world. You don't have to do anything, and all of your friends look just like you." That's why
Yes.
the casting was so off in this episode, but it was intentional because of what the episode was trying to convey.
Right, and even if, like, I know just based on the discourse I've seen on the internet, on, like, Twitter and such, like, a lot of people didn't catch on throughout the entire episode what exactly the theme was here, what was happening, and, at the very end, you finally have that, like, watershed outward, like, verbally awful moment where Lindy, looks at the doctor and has just like I guess you can't say anything less than like an evil face. And she says, "Oh, it's fine to talk to you through a screen, but I don't want to hug you. Like, I don't want to look like, be near you." or accept your help. Like we stay pure or something. She said like that, right? Something
Mhm.
we don't get like contaminated or something along
Yeah,
those lines.
I wanna say, like, it was, like, they used the word contaminate because he offered them at the very end. So, I will say, like, this episode felt very much like Blink in the way that the doctor and the companion were helping someone else from far away, and then we see them at the end of this episode, and the doctor's like, "Hey, like, I have my TARDIS, like, it can fit all of you, like, let's go. I can relocate you. You don't have to do this on your own," you know? And then, yeah, it was like they kinda, like, give him the dirtiest look ever and are like, "No, we're don't we don't wanna be contaminated," is I'm pretty sure is what they said. I wish I'd written it down, but, like, I think I was too shell shocked when
Yeah.
after they said it to, like, make note of exactly what they said, but I was like, "Oh, wow." Wow, and the emotion in Ncuti Gatwa's, like every episode, man, every time we review a Doctor Who episode, I'm just gonna sit here and be in awe of his acting because, like and I read online that this was his first scene that he filmed as the Doctor.
No, really?
Mhm.
Wow, way to throw him in completely head first. Like that is a doozy to
Yeah, yeah,
jump
and so
into.
yeah, yeah, and it was so heavy, and he just, like, watched them walk away with such just oh my gosh, that expression on his face was so heartbreaking.
Yeah, and the other thing was that it shows you in that moment how I wouldn't say how non-human the doctor is. Like, he didn't get right away what she was saying. Like, it didn't click to him that he was being subject to racism. And Ruby right away was like, oh, like disgusted and turned her head away. And then when he figured it out, like obviously he had this very emotional reaction. But then a beat later said, "I don't care. I don't care what you say about me. I just wanna save you. I just wanna get you out of here. You can do whatever you want." And I think that that moment really got me because he could have turned around and been like, "Well, screw you all. Like, you're terrible people and deserve to be eaten by the slugs." But it just goes to show you, like, what kind of person the doctor is. The doctor saves people. That's what the doctor does, and I think that was probably the most like, the epitome of that is he even will go that far to save these disgusting racist people.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and, like, being, a being from another planet, who has run into all sorts of different species and races of, humanity and all this stuff. Yeah, you're right. Like it didn't hit him at first, that was the reason. He's used to people rejecting his help, like that he can't save everyone, even though that's like his, goal is that's what he wants to do, and he's used to people rejecting their help, but this, like,
It was
it was,
personal. It was a personal
y
attack.
yeah, yep, totally personal, which was really heartbreaking.
It was, and I I found myself being like, I guess the slugs aren't really the villains here. I wish they had eaten everybody." Like, at first, I was, like, really creeped out by them because, like, let's be real, like, let's talk about those slugs for a minute. They were
Yeah,
gross, they were disgusting and scary and huge, and I even, like, put a note in my, when I was watching the show to take notes for this episode, and I said, "I like that the monsters in this season so far look more classic and less high tech, like, they're not CGI'd in." And, obviously, Disney could do that because they have Disney budget now, but it has that very, like, David Tennant-y, like, feel to them or, like, the silence or something like that. So, they were a really cool design, creepy as all hell with your tendrils, and that also reminded me of the nasty cockroach in Turn Left, especially because they kept saying, "Turn left, turn left, turn left," which was second time in 2 weeks we've been getting reminded of Turn Left, but I wanted the slugs to eat everybody. I really they were the true heroes.
yeah, Well, the slugs weren't saying turn left, it was the bubble telling them
The
where to
bubble
go,
was.
said turn
Right.
left, yeah. Yeah, so the slugs were I thought they looked really cool. And it's funny because, my son is very interested in this season, which makes me really happy, and he's watching it and he goes, "Those don't look very scary." And I was like, "Well, I don't think they're supposed to be, like, terrifying monsters, like, they're not like the creature in Space Babies that was, like, gross and terrifying, right? Or like, other types of monsters, they were just there." And I agree. I like the fact that they weren't super, like, high end, I guess you could say, however
Yeah,
you
like
wanna
high
say
tech.
it. Yeah, high tech, yeah, but, like, they didn't realize that they were eating people methodically until, like, towards the end, and they realized that they were going in alphabetical order by last name on this world where these rich kids were sent by their parents. It was a little sad though when you find out that the homeworld was wiped out. Like at first I was like, "Oh, well that's a bummer. Like all of their parents are gone." But then as you watch, you realize, wow, these are all really terrible kids, so maybe their parents were equally as terrible. Um
I mean, you can assume that they're also racists, like, a planet of white supremacists was my
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. So, you have the one kid, Ricky, right? Ricky September, who was able to get out of his bubble, right? Out of his echo chamber. He was a free thinker. He could walk by himself. He was helping, Lindy get to the spot that the doctor apparently was telling everyone about, because they were all ended up at this one spot at the end. And so he was like helping her go through it this whole time. And I was like, oh, that's so awesome. Like there's one person out here who can like help her get through, because it was making me a little crazy when she couldn't walk in a straight line.
Oh
It
my
was
god, me too. I was like, it's the most basic function besides, like, breathing, like, I mean
like, yeah. And then she sold him out to the Dot, because the Dot like comes alive, right? And is like the thing that's like ultimately killing people. And like he's there to save her life. Like he's in the process of getting this door open to save her, and they realize that she's like next on this list to be killed, and if she had just waited like 2 more minutes, they both could have been saved. But little miss privilege rich pants, right, like was like, actually Ricky September changed his name after he hit X amount of followers, and his last name is actually something that's way higher up in the alphabet. I forgot what it was. And so then the thing instantly turns and kills him instead, and she goes free. And I was like, "Are you kidding?" I gasped so loud. I
Yeah.
I was so sad that
Yeah,
that happened.
terrible. That was terrible, and it goes to show yet again, like, who the monster really is, and, like, Ricky September, though he was one of these rich white kids on this planet, he wasn't like them because he was worldly, he had read many books, he knew about, you know, the outside world and culture, and he was the only one not affronted by the doctor whatsoever. Like, you never see him react, negatively to the doctor. He doesn't say anything that I can recall that comes across as aggressive or racist. Like, it makes sense in the long run that he is the one to go because he is the only decent person among them. So it's disgusting and gross, but it makes sense because they were the ones to survive at the end were all the terrible ones.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he was definitely like did not have a problem talking to the doctor, because the doctor and Ruby came up on screen, right? And then like they turn him around so that way he can help put in this code thing. And yeah, you're right. He like did not like falter in taking directions from the doctor. And so he probably would have gone with him, but that would have like ostracized him from the rest of his friends, you
I
know.
don't think he would've cared. I don't think
No.
I think especially if he had, you can assume that would he have known their true nature unless he really saw that moment between them and the doctor? I think if he had been there and survived and seen what the truth was, he also, I mean, this is just like me positing based on, the character, but like, would he have been disgusted by them as well and gone with the doctor? I don't think he would have cared that he was ostracized because why would you want to be with a bunch of racists? You can go be saved
Yeah.
and live.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true, but we'll never know because he's dead.
He was too good, quite literally too good for this world.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
I was
okay.
sorry, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, no, go. No, you go. I
You go.
insist. No, you.
Oh, I was just gonna make the little commenty joke, that the boats that they were using to leave looked exactly like the Jungle Cruise boats. After having this heart-wrenching moment of the doctor being so upset about the blatant racism towards him, they pan over to this boat that's taking them out of this, water pipeline thing, and it looked I started laughing. I was like, "Hey," talk about, emotional whiplash. I went from, being so upset to, "Hey, those look like the Jungle Cruise boats at Disneyland."
I said we've discussed this prior to filming, and I said they probably were because it's like the Disney backlot somewhere, and they pulled out a Jungle Cruise boat for a
I
prop.
I was laughing, and then, they're going underneath, this waterfall, and one of the jokes, on the Jungle Cruise is, "Ladies and gentlemen, the eighth wonder of the world, the backside of water." It's like a whole thing, and so I thought it was really funny. I don't know if that was intentional. It might have been, but I don't know. I just had to throw that out there.
That was pretty funny. I didn't pick that up because I don't ever go to Disney because I'm in New York, so I didn't know. But yeah, it's kind of funny. It was their backlot prop that they needed for Doctor Who. I do want to point out a theme that I found, besides the heaviest theme that we already hit on. This episode, I noticed a recurring thing, and it is children being abandoned by their parents. Like, I didn't realize it was recurring in almost every single episode until this one. And I thought about it, and it was in this episode, you have the parents of the home world sending their kids and then all dying. They're all gone, so their children are like abandoned. You have Ruby, obviously, is the big one. Ruby abandoned by her mother or her parents in the beginning. And because Ruby's past is like rippling through these episodes, I think this is why we're seeing it. So you have Ruby being abandoned, and then you have the space babies were left behind by their parents, and then you had the Splice and her dad in the 73 yards. He was killed and died and left her behind. And then also, you could argue that the Maestro and the toy maker, because there's no relationship there. Like, it was pointed out, oh, he's like my father or whatever. So you can kind of make that argument. So there's this recurring theme about a child being abandoned by their parents, and I'm curious to see if that continues going forward.
Yeah, I didn't catch that actually until you just said that right now. You're absolutely right. They shipped them off. I didn't necessarily immediately think of abandonment, but that's exactly what that is. It's go on with yourselves. Bye. And there's really no reason to have an explanation as to why they did that. Probably just because they had money and they could. And then Lindy is still supposedly getting messages from her mother, but they're just recordings because we find out that the home world is desolate. There's no one, zero, population zero, that's it. And I'm going to assume that the home world had an AI system of some kind because those slug things were there as well. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
The
it's
the the abandonment, I guess you could also say because they were killed. Like, when they look on the screen before they realize when Ricky and Lindy look on the screen, they're wiped out. The parents are not only did they like leave them on this planet to, do whatever it is they do for these 7 years of their lives, but they quite literally abandoned them in death, I guess you could say, which is like boom, the father died and left his child behind. So this is going on. It was almost every episode. There was one episode where it didn't have the parent child theme, and I don't remember because I didn't write it down. I know I'm missing one and I can't think of it. I'm like, what did we watch so far?
That's fair. I can't think of it either. But yeah, it's really interesting. My one gripe though is I need to see Ncuti on screen more. Like I need more of the doctor in an actual like space. Like he needs more time. Like come on.
Yeah.
That's like my only gripe is like this episode was great and the way that he helped them was awesome, but then like he wasn't in 73 yards, and so we didn't see him in that one except for the very beginning and at the very end. And then this one, I understand why in both episodes why he wasn't around, but like I want the doctor. I want to see Ncuti shine.
I agree. And you just reminded me with 73 Yards, that is the episode where there was no theme of the parent child abandonment. Nothing happened in that one. So out of all the episodes that have aired so far, every single other episode has had that dynamic, but not 73 Yards. Just
73 yards.
aside,
Her
you
mother
reminded
her
me.
mother her mother walked away from
Oh
her
my
and
God, her mother
blocked
did.
her. Yeah, I was like, what do you mean 73 yards doesn't have abandonment? Her mom told her to stop calling. She changed the
That's
logs.
true. That is true. I forgot completely about that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
even wrote down in my notes, I wrote down the parents and the childs from each episode, and I wrote Ruby and her mother, but I was referring to her birth mother who abandoned her in the beginning. I forgot
Oh.
completely about that. Yeah.
Yep. So it's been every episode.
Every episode. I
Mhm.
stand corrected.
Yeah. And we
I'm
only have a
curious
few
to see where
episodes.
that goes.
Yeah, we only have a few episodes left. So I have a feeling we'll find out very soon.
Have you noticed the recurrence of this random older woman?
Yes, and why?
Okay.
Like,
I actually
why?
let's see let's see if my camera will pick it up because I screenshotted this. Can you wait, it's not gonna show up now. Hold on. There she is. Her. It's a little blurry.
Oh, it's kinda hard to see, but
Whee!
yeah, that actress is in every episode.
Oh, now my screen is all weird. Yes, she was the mother in the Homeworld videos for Lindy. She was the face of the ambulance in Boom,
Mhm.
and she was the hiker, right? Was she the hiker in 73 Yards?
I I'm not entirely sure, but wasn't she also the neighbor who was like, "Have fun in the TARDIS," or whatever? Like, wasn't she the neighbor in the Christmas episode where she, like, or the first episode where she told Ruby to go? Wasn't that her too?
I'm not sure. I have to look now because that same wasn't that lady also in 73 Yards? Wasn't the neighbor in that one as well? When I- you know, I don't know. Like you can only give me so many old white ladies and expect me to remember who they are.
No, but it's all over the internet though. It's all over the internet that like there's one person who has been this woman has been in every episode, but she's been a different character every episode. So she is someone. We just don't know why or what, or who, who there. That's the right word. Who she is. I guess what she is would work
Yeah, she
too,
could
but
be a
like,
what? She could be a who, a what?
yeah. So,
Did they I saw that they credit her, the actress, in the credits as Susan Twist, which I assume is not her name because I assume Susan as like the doctor's granddaughter and Twist as in there's always a twist at the end. So I am curious. I don't think she's Susan, but I think that the fact that they mentioned Susan in the twist at the end episode and they're crediting this lady as Susan Twist, like there is something going on. And as I said in previous episodes, I need to know what it is.
yeah, I would love if she was Susan somehow, but I think that's too easy.
I kind of get
Dr.
like a nefarious vibe from her. Like I don't trust her.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll see.
I guess we'll see, but overall this was a hard episode. This is a
It
rough
was.
episode.
It was,
Ugh.
but it was an important episode.
So be nice to your AI. It might realize you're racist or
Yep.
sexist or homophobic
Or
or any of the ists,
classist.
and it will kill you.
It's true.
I believe that's actually true. It's the real
Yeah.
problem with AI these days, not that it's, stealing people's jobs.
And art and work and yeah.
So yeah, we only have 2, I believe, 2 episodes left. 3?
Was this episode 5 or 6?
That's a good question.
Because I thought it was episode 5, so if it is episode, then we have 3 left. And I think
Well,
the
we have
finale is a
1.
two-parter.
Oh, it is the finale?
Mhm.
3 or 4 left.
Okay.
Nothing really helpful there, sorry.
Nope. That's okay.
I tried.
You did. Pats for Jenna.
I tried, guys.
It's okay.
So
Well,
yeah,
we'll
you
wrap
have
this
anything
up.
else?
No,
Anything else to say about this episode?
No, I think we went through it all. It was one of those where you can't really like start from the beginning because it just was this insane, heavy hitting episode. But I think we covered it. If we missed anything or, quoted the number of episodes left that, incorrectly as of the first week of June, leave us a comment. Or if you want to just validate us because we thrive on validation, also leave us a comment. Feel free to subscribe, leave a like on our video, subscribe to our Patreon if you want to fund the mayhem. And we thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much, and stay tuned for some more pop culture reviews and just general mayhem.